All right, so now that we kind of know all the computers that exist, let's talk a little bit about how do computers get information? At the end of the day, a computer is a tool, okay? It's a tool that you use to write a term paper. It's a tool that you use to watch videos on YouTube. It's a tool that you use to play video games. Whatever it is, the computer is a tool to do something, right? And for the computer to work, it typically needs information from you, the user. Okay, so you're the user, person using the computer. And the computer needs information from you to be able to do its tasks, whatever that task is. So let's talk a little bit about the different kinds of input. So like I said, computer input is when you, the user, give information to a computer. We also have computer output. Computer output is when a computer gives you, the user, information. We'll talk a little bit about what that is. So the most basic form of input would be a keyboard. Okay, so a lot of you are, if you're watching this on a computer like a laptop, you're sitting in front of a keyboard right now. Okay, what is a keyboard? I have this broken computer that I'm going to use as a thing right here. So here's a keyboard. I'm balancing this here. And essentially what a keyboard is it's a bunch of buttons. Okay, here's a button that's a 0 key, P key, D key, R key, F key, 4 key, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so a keyboard is a bunch of buttons, and each button corresponds to a letter or a number or a special character like $sign or something like that. And so when you press it, that's giving that information to the computer. So if I hit the letter, D on my keyboard, the computer knows that I've typed the letter D. Okay, that's input. Now, that's really great for what we call alphanumeric information. Alphanumeric information is like letters and numbers, A through Z and like 0 through 9 and stuff like that. Okay. But alphanumeric is not necessarily great for everything. Okay, so for instance, let's say I wanted to point to the middle of the screen here. Okay, how could I do that with just using my keyboard? There might be a way of doing it, maybe using like the arrow keys or something, but it wouldn't be very easy. Okay, this is what we call gesture-based information. Like I'm trying to point to something, or maybe I want to double click on something, 1, 2, okay? That is gesture-based information as opposed to alphanumeric, that's specifically letters and numbers, okay? So a good way to do gesture-based information is to use something like a mouse, or if you're on a laptop, a trackpad, okay? So my mouse, I can point to a specific point on my desktop. I'm pointing at the lower left. I'm pointing at the upper left. I'm pointing at the upper right. I'm pointing at the middle. I am clicking and dragging this item here. Okay, that's something that would not be particularly very easy to do just using a keyboard. Okay, other ways of doing this, if you're on a smartphone or a tablet, it's probably your finger is actually the gesture-based information. So you swipe right, you swipe left, tap, double tap, all that kind of stuff. That's gesture-based information. You might have a stylus if you have like a tablet or something. That's also gesture-based information. Another way to get information into a computer is a microphone. Sorry about that, junk call. Anyway, I was talking about microphones. Microphones record or get audio input from you. So if you wanted to record your voice, do a voiceover for something, a microphone basically gives the computer audio information. Okay. Another way to give information might be something like a specific game controller. So if you have a game controller for your Xbox or whatever, that has inputs of, I'm going up, down, left, right. You have buttons like A and B and things like that. Okay, so that's, once again, it's input for the computer. Okay, now you can give your input to your computer, and the computer needs to give you information back as well. I like to think of it sort of a digital conversation. I say something, the computer gives me information back. I receive that information, I say something back, so on and so on. So the most basic way that the computer will give you information or computer output would be a monitor. Okay. So a monitor is literally seeing what's going on your computer or on your smartphone or something like that. Believe it or not, computers actually didn't always have monitors. It wasn't actually until the 1970s that there were monitors. Before that, what they would do is if you would run a program, it would just print out the information on text on like pieces of paper and stuff like that. So a monitor is just a way to get visual information of what you've done. So for instance, let's go back and talk about a keyboard. So I'm going to hit the letter Z on my keyboard here. Now let's hypothetically say I didn't see myself hit that button. How would I know that I pressed the letter Z? Well, the letter Z appears right here. So that's visual information that I can tell what I did. Okay. How do I know that I'm hovering over this particular or interacting with this particular PDF slide? Well, I can literally see this little halo around it, or I can see my mouse hovering above it. All right. Other kinds of output from a computer would be speakers. Speakers give you audio information, so they let you hear things, music, voice, things like that. A printer allows you to take information out of the computer. So everything right now on my computer is digital. It only exists within this digital space. If I want to make it analog, what I can do is print this to a printer, if I have a printer hooked up to this computer, and then it'll take this information, for instance, this text file, and it would print it to pieces of paper that are physical that you can touch. Okay. All right, so that's computer input and computer output. All right, next video, we're going to talk about the history of the internet.